So we can continue our discussion on IMSBC and go to section 7. Cargoes that may liquefy. This is a concern, a huge concern. There have been cases, accidents because of this. Cargoes liquefied during motion of the vessel and subsequently resulting even in capsizing because of the free surface effect developed in motion. So we go straight to this section. Which group will this be? As far as the IMSBC is concerned, the group?
Group A.
A, sir.
Very good. This one. This group. It has caused a lot of concern. Special attention is paid to this. So this is a group A. It talks about cargoes which may liquefy if shipped at a moisture content exceeding their transportable moisture limit. So this causes a concern and this has to be carefully carried. Information for this will come from the declaration by the shipper and the code IMSBC. The code, if it says group A, that means it is a cargo which can liquefy. Then you got a concern. So this is liquefaction caused due to the vessel motion, which cargo has been transported in excess of its transportable moisture limit. Moisture content, present moisture content is in excess of the TML. Then there is a chance it will liquefy. Now, why it is happening is because of compaction. Due to compaction, the moisture content is oozed out in a liquid state. Then it is liquefied. Once liquefied, the cargo develops a free state and it can move around. It may have sufficient moisture content to develop the state, fluid state, because of compaction. Compaction means convection and vibration. Compaction means cargo is compressed due to motion of the vessel and the moisture content is oozed out of the cargo and it develops a free state, flow state. This has become particularly important because accidents have happened even along the coast of India. So this section is also under purview and discussion even in an oral exam for cargo work because accidents have taken place along the coast of India. One vessel having loaded iron ore, Chinese vessel sailed out from New Mangalore and then capsized off the breakwaters. So it has caused concern, and obviously anything which happens along the coast of India do figure in the exam. There is also a point that some cargoes which may liquefy can also heat spontaneously. So this is also added concern. Not all, some of them. When liquefied or liquefaction takes place, it can result in cargo shift because the cargo is in a flow state. It is moving around because of rolling, etc. Cargo is moving in a flow state. Then it is causing a concern. It's almost as if you have loaded liquid. Volume of spaces between the particles is reduced as the result of cargo being compacted owing to ship's motion. The space between the particles reduces, cargo is compacted. Hence, the moisture contained in the cargo comes out. The reduction in space between cargo particles causes an increase in water pressure in the space. The increase in water pressure reduces the friction between cargo particles, resulting in reduction of shear strength, which is holding the cargo together. So moisture is oozed out. So much so that you may have a situation like this. Liquefied nickel ore. Liquefied nickel ore. Cargo loaded was nickel ore. After liquefaction, this is the condition. I mean, it's hard to believe that you actually loaded nickel ore as powder. After liquefaction, it appears as if the cargo loaded was liquid. Some examples: mineral concentrates, refined ores, copper concentrate, iron concentrate, all these are susceptible to liquefaction. Nickel ore is also susceptible, and this can behave very strangely. Coal is also prone to liquefaction. Not all of them, some grades of coal. It is normally loaded as Group B cargo but can be classed both as Group A and Group B because some of the varieties or variants of coal are prone to liquefaction. Now, this is a cargo which is both prone to liquefaction and self-heating, making it even more dangerous. Continuing, it can be not occurring or can be prevented if cargo contains very small particles, so movement is restricted due to cohesion, which is the cargo combining together, and because of very little space, water pressure does not increase in between the cargo particles. Then you got, you know, buffer. Maybe you are safe when cargo contains very small particles. If the cargo contains large particles, water will pass through the spaces, and water pressure will also have an issue. Cargo which consists entirely of large particles may not liquefy. But normally what is happening is that the cargo contains both large particles and some fines. If you remember, this is why DRI is supposed to be loaded with very small amount of fines so that cargo space is not compromised on. This is supposed to be The moisture content, present moisture content, and the TML, transportable moisture limit, is supposed to be declared for any cargo like this. But the trouble is that most of the shippers either under declare it just for getting the cargo on board or may wrongly declare. And it is very common, which I have experienced personally while loading copper concentrate X, a Brazilian port, where the shipper refused to furnish a TML intent. When insisted, he said, no problem, many ships have loaded. That was his excuse of not furnishing one. That many ships have loaded like this, no problem. Of course, I made sure that he has to do it because I started copying everybody in the loop, telling that this guy is not providing the shipping correct shipper declaration, and consequently we are not in position to load cargo. Obviously, it had a backlash. Owners started making noise about going off hire, things like that developed. But at the end of the day, he had to provide one. So this can be a concern, 100%. Section 7, very important one, cargoes likely to liquefy. Obviously, because of the flow state, from one side to the other side to a roll, this can lead to capsizing of the vessel itself, which I said has happened off New Mangalore for a vessel which had loaded iron ore in New Mangalore. Chinese vessel, not a very big vessel, very small one, 20,000 ton or something, but it had capsized because of the flow state the cargo developed. After that incident, unfortunate incident, a lot of emphasis had started taking place during examinations for Section 7, as far as we are concerned, for the MMD exam. So, when we have seen that it is classed like this, the Group A cargo, then concentrates, other cargoes which will liquefy, can only be accepted for loading when actual moisture content of the cargo is less than TML. Only then. Or you may have shifting boards installed in the cargo hold to allow loading, but definitely it will still be a concern if the moisture content is exceeding TML. There was a talk, if you remember, regarding DRI, which is prone to or susceptible to self-heating, to cool it. When you are using water spray to cool, you have to keep in mind that this can develop a flow state. When you are cooling the cargo by introducing water, you are going to increase the moisture content and you can lead to flow state. Some ships are constructed especially for loading these kind of cargoes, but chances are very little that we will work on one of them because these are specially constructed cargo ships. They have permanent structural boundaries, so arranged to confine the shift of cargo to an acceptable limit. If this is the case, of course, then you can load, but this shall carry evidence of being approved by the administration. Portable divisions to confine any shift of cargo to acceptable limit. But really speaking, the most important thing is that the moisture content, present moisture content, MC, present moisture content should be less than the TML. Only then it is acceptable for loading. Now we are going to come to this one, test procedures, or rather complementary test procedure, which I have also actually done in my case. We'll come back to it 1 minute. Just give me a minute. We need to look at some definitions before we go to this. So now we have a look at some definitions which I advise you keep noting down. One is angle of repose. Do you remember this angle of repose? Maximum slope angle, free flowing granular material, angle contained between the horizontal plane and the cone slope. This one. This has been asked previously, so my advice or recommendation, you note it down. If you are asked what is angle of repose, reference IMSBC, then you need to quote unquote this definition. It is not a question of your own words. Some definitions have to go verbatim as it is. I don't think it is difficult to follow. Have you got a concern with this definition?
No.
Okay. So do make it a note. Angle of repose. And give me a minute. You go ahead, but just a minute. The next definition which you should be aware is BCSN, bulk cargo shipping name. This is identifying a bulk cargo during transport by sea. It has got a proper shipping name. See, many cargoes are known just by nicknames, by local names, but the name put on the MSTS or addressed in the safety data sheet or maybe in the IMSBC code is actually BCSN, proper bulk cargo shipping name, not the nickname. For example, Bangalore, New Bangalore, Visakhapatnam, and also Cochin to a certain extent. They are outlets as far as India is concerned of iron ore. Even anchorage ports like Paradeep, they are the outlets for iron ore. Are you aware what is the nickname in these ports for iron ore? Nickname for iron ore. What the stevedores call it? Just by a nickname. You will be surprised. They actually address iron ore as mitti. I'm sure you understand Hindi. Mitti. And that is the name they address it with. What cargo is being loaded? Mitti. That is a nickname, but that is not the BCSN. The BCSN is the proper bulk cargo shipping name, which has to be iron ore. It cannot be addressed as mitti or another nickname. In these codes or the safety data sheet. It has to be addressed as BCSL. So this is also a definition which you should know, is the name which identifies the bulk cargo. Obviously, when this cargo is listed in the code, the bulk cargo shipping name is identified by capital letters in the individual schedules of the index, which we have seen examples. Some more definitions. Cargo space, of course, you understand, but very simply means any space in the ship designated for carriage of cargo. Then it is called a cargo space. Anji, boliye. Saying something?
कंप्यूटर अपने आप ही बंद हो जाता है तो बुलाया कहना फिर मारना ना चलता करके जैसे मास्टर के काम से बढ़ गया रहना तो बस वही दिखाता रहता
Okay, I got mute because background noise is there. Should be okay now. Keep yourself muted, gentlemen. Candidates, keep yourself muted, otherwise it causes some disturbance. So another definition which we have seen, but you may note it down. Cargoes which may liquefy means cargoes which contain a certain proportion of fine particles and certain amount of moisture. They may liquefy if shipped with MC moisture content in excess of TML. That is cargoes which may liquefy का definition. Going further, flow moisture point. Definition of FMP, Foxtrot Mike Papa, flow moisture point, is defined like this. Flow moisture point, again a matter of concern for cargo likely to liquefy. Flow moisture point actually means percentage moisture content, wet mass basis at which the flow state can develop. That is the flow moisture point at which the flow state can develop. Of course, this is under the prescribed test procedures for representative sample of the material. flow moisture point. Further, flow state is simple to follow because the name itself suggests a state occurring when a mass of granular material is saturated with liquid to an extent that it will influence the prevailing external forces as vibration. Under the influence of prevailing conditions like vibration, impaction, it may lose its internal shear strength which binds it and behaves like a liquid. That is flow state. It is said to have developed a flow state. Right. Some more of them. Flow state, flow moisture point, and we move on to the definition part. High density solid bulk cargo. High density solid bulk cargo. This is defined as per the code. Solid bulk cargo with a storage factor of 0.56 meter cube per ton or less or lesser. Storage factor 0.56 meter cube per ton or less will be defined as high density solid bulk cargo. Then the concern regarding moisture. Before that, this one, material hazardous only in bulk, MHP. We had talked about it. Some of us over here were aware of it also, but defined as materials which possess chemical hazards when carried in bulk, other than materials classified as dangerous goods. Then it is classed as MHP, materials hazardous only in bulk. For example, a simple cargo like wood chips is also classed MHP. It is hazardous when in bulk. One wood chip is not hazardous, but when carried in bulk, it is hazardous. It is classed MHP, the wood chips. Moisture content, MC for short, means the portion of a representative sample consisting of water, ice, or other liquid expressed as a percentage of total wet mass. That is moisture content expressed as a percentage. I hope you are making a small note for this. Highlighted definitions. These are figured off and on in the examinations, and also you must be aware. You should be aware. Then again and again we will come across this term, so it is good to know this. Representative test sample. This one. Representative test sample. A sample of sufficient quantity for the purpose of testing the physical and chemical properties of the cargo. Testing for requirement. That is representative test sample. But more importantly, sample of sufficient quantity for the purpose of testing. Then it can be termed as representative test sample. You have heard of this term many times, shipper. What is the definition? It's the person or the entity, party by whom or in whose name, on whose behalf a contract of carriage of goods has been made. This is called a shipper. जिसके नाम पे या जिसके behalf पे ये contract conclude हुआ है, then he will be called the shipper. Interesting one, solid bulk cargo. What does it mean, solid bulk cargo? Any cargo other than liquid or gas, which consists of granules or large pieces of material, generally uniform in composition. This is important. Generally uniform in composition, which is loaded directly into the cargo space without any intermediate form of containment. Definition of solid bulk cargo. More importantly, to recognize and make a point is, it is loaded directly into the cargo spaces of a ship without any intermediate form of containment. So I'm looking at an example where you have wheat as cargo. This wheat is loaded in a container. Of course, with respect to the container specification, the wheat is loaded into the container. Several containers contain wheat and this is transported by ship. But this is not bulk cargo. This is cannot be termed as bulk cargo, although cargo contained inside container is bulk cargo. But it cannot be termed as bulk cargo because this is not being loaded directly into the cargo space of the ship. Intermediate form of containment is containers. Storage factor, you are aware of this, but no harm in just having a repeat. Number of cubic meter which 1 ton of the cargo will occupy is called the storage factor. Number of tons, number of cubic meters which 1 ton of cargo will occupy, that is called the storage factor. Let's go back 1 minute to that definition of high density cargo, which gives in terms of storage factor 0.56 meter cube per ton. That is, if this is the storage factor 0.56 meter cube per ton or less, then it is called high density solid bulk cargo. And then we have come across what is storage factor, the number of cubic meter 1 ton of cargo will occupy. In this case, high density will be if 1 ton of the cargo occupies 0.56 meter cube or lesser, then it is termed as high density solid bulk cargo. Okay, so that was about solid bulk cargo. How can it be termed? Loaded without any intermediate form of containment. Some points to remember in this definition is this will be combination of particles, granules, generally uniform in composition. loaded directly into cargo space without any intermediate form of containment. Please remember this question has been asked in our oral exam. When the candidate replied that he has worked on bulk carriers, the surveyor asked him, okay, very good, can you define bulk cargo? And this is the definition which was required. We come to a very important definition, TML, transportable moisture limit. The maximum moisture content of the cargo which is considered safe for carriage. It is determined by test procedure, of course, by competent authority. Transportable moisture limit is the maximum moisture content of the cargo which is considered safe for carriage, TML. Allowed moisture content for transport. Of course, it has to be determined by test procedures as approved by the competent authority. But this also comes as a declaration for cargoes which are classed to be susceptible for liquefaction. This has to accompany the MSTS, the transportable moisture limit. And obviously this is the maximum moisture content. So present moisture content should be lesser than TML if you have to accept it for transport. Leveling of cargo in cargo space, partial or total, will be called trimming. That is okay. Ventilation. Ventilation means these types. Continuous ventilation, operating at all times. That is continuous. Mechanical ventilation, power generated ventilation. Some fans are being used. That we call mechanical. Because this also figures in the individual schedules. Recommended may be continuous ventilation, mechanical ventilation, or natural ventilation and surface ventilation. However, to put it simply, means exchange of air from outside to inside of cargo space. To put it very simply. Then there could be methods which we are describing: continuous, mechanical, natural, or surface. You get the point, right? This we have seen: general loading, unloading precautions. 1 minute. We come back. Let's have a look at the test procedures. Now, there are test procedures, of course, for moisture content, which is given in Appendix 2, and then TML again in Appendix 2 given. How to determine transportable moisture limit, but this is what the laboratory will do. This is what you will get done. The shipper will get done from an approved lab. This is what the laboratory, one approved institute, will follow to get the test procedures done. But what we are more interested in is in this one, complementary test procedure for determining possibility of liquefaction. Have a look at this. And please understand and believe me, I have done this one, the complementary test procedure. When I was refused the MSTS and I was in doubt, I had to carry out this. Actually done it. So it is not something hypothetical, can be done. Have you ever heard of this or have you ever undergone this one? Test procedure on board for
This is
determining. Sorry?
can test.
Say so?
Can test.
Can test, yeah. In short, can test. Yes, absolutely. In short,
Yes.
can test. Since you're saying means maybe sometime or the other you had done it, which is good. But now we can also talk about it, irrespective of whether we have done it or not. It is done like this. You have to take a cylindrical can or container. Could be capacity 0.5 to 1 liter. Most probably you will find this as an empty fruit can. Tin fruit ka can from the galley, you can find it. 0.5 to 1 liter capacity. Then you fill this half fill or 3/4 full of the test material which you want to check, maybe the ore which you want to check, etc. Now take this can and bring it down sharply on a hard surface as a solid table, but I would say a bollard. This is the best method. Strike it on the bollard from a height of about 20 centimeters or something. Repeat it 10, 15, 20 times. Repeat this same thing. Means sample तो है, but you repeat striking on the hard surface about 10, 15, 20 times. After you have done this for about 20 times, then you examine to see if any free moisture or fluid condition has developed. This is simulation. Simulation of maybe a cargo which can liquefy during ship's motion. This is only simulation. If any free moisture or fluid condition appears, then this is clearly stating or clearly indicating that the the cargo is susceptible to liquefaction. Now, additional measures or additional laboratory tests have to be undertaken before it is accepted for loading. This is the can test, a tried out method, and recommended method. If you are any time in doubt about the flow state or liquid content, then this one is one method which you can at least have some idea of the low moisture point. It's not a foolproof method, of course, it is only an estimate. But this is pointing to you in case you see something, some moisture developing, then you have reason to insist for more exhaustive tests to be done prior shipment. In short, called a can test, as rightly pointed out by one of us, it is called a can test also. Right? Do keep it in mind. This is practicality. Just in case you are in doubt, you can carry out this test on board. Very simple to do. Costs nothing also. Chemical hazard will just come back. 1 minute. Yeah. So this is requirement for accepting loading group A cargo likely to liquefy. Must be tested to determine TML and moisture content before they can be compared and accepted for loading. For simply accepting, the bottom line, actual moisture content of the cargo presently must be below TML. This is the bottom line. Then you can accept it. This, have a look at this one. This happened. This is, I think I was talking about the same vessel. Of course, I didn't remember the name, but this looks like Chinese vessel, bulk carrier, sank in 2005. Cause was believed to be liquefaction, possibly due to TML exceeded and moisture content. This one. So there has to be a certificate MSDS can come as a certificate for Group A cargo. Signed certificate of declaration of cargo's actual moisture content. Only then you can start thinking of transporting it. So some steps you will need to reduce risk of liquefaction. Make sure shipper has supplied the required information, which is TML against actual moisture content. Only accept if actual moisture content is less than TML. Carry out visual monitoring during loading. Carry out visual monitoring. Any chance or any indication of high moisture content, stop loading. And seek further advice means you will inform charterers, cargo owners, etc. In any case, consider trimming prior sailing out to reduce likelihood of cargo shift. If you are suspecting, then you have to take all measures to prevent any liquid entering the cargo space during loading and throughout the voyage. These are some precautions you will take. A possible compilation of answer to a question which says, how will you load Group A cargo? No, it could be the second part. The first part could be, what is Group A cargo as far as IMSBC code is concerned? Then the second part of the question could be, how can you load Group A cargo if you are nominated to load one? Right? You must have made a note. We move on. Just to go back to 1 minute to that, because this is important. No harm in repeating it. Definitions, as you can see, flow moisture point, percentage of moisture content, wet mass basis at which a flow state develops. Then of course there are prescribed methods for representative samples. Flow state, a state occurring when a mass of granular material is saturated to such an extent that under the influence of vibration, impaction, etc., it loses its internal shear strength to hold it together and behaves as a liquid. Moisture content, of course, means portion of representative sample consisting of water, ice, or other liquid, expressed as a percentage of total wet mass, 68%, 78%, like that. That is the moisture content. And we have talked about this. TML, transportable moisture limit, the limit after which the cargo may liquefy, maximum moisture content. Please remember, these are some things which have been asked previously also. Because as I said, section 7 cargoes likely to liquefy is become very important. It's causing a concern. So you can expect questions still to come. We have seen this one, the compaction due to vibration of the vessel and can ooze out the liquid away from the cargo itself, which can result in a flow state. One method could be trimming. Trimming can prevent sliding failure rather. One method to keep it safe or keep your vessel safe is to, restrict cohesion, which means the cargo loaded should consist of large particles. Cargoes which consist entirely of large particles will not liquefy. Means it is not an understatement. This is normal, which consists of large particles. But if there is a cargo which contains high percentage of air and moisture, then any increase in water pressure is possible. Dry cargoes are not liable to liquefy. So even if the surface of the cargo, which is class group A, appears to be dry, undetected liquefaction may take place underneath, causing shifting. This is not exactly shifting, it is termed as sliding, because it loses cohesion, so cargo may slide on top of the other. Layer may slide. Viscous fluid state of this may develop, which can, have the cargo move from one side to the other side during roll. There is a chance the ship may reach dangerous list, actually not heel, list, and capsize quite suddenly, which you are aware because it is causing loss of GM, fluid state. So this is how it goes. Take a small Kit Kat break. We come back and meet again at 15:45. We take a small break, okay? And then we start again.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Moving on, there are some cargoes inside the code which says fixed gas firefighting system is exempted. Exemption is there from a fixed firefighting system, gas firefighting system, which is supposed to be ineffective. This is also by a circular and it contains a list. So the circular agreed to provide a list solid bulk cargoes for which a fixed gas fire extinguishing system may be exempted. So the list is there. If this cargo is loaded, then you are aware that it does not require a fixed firefighting system as gas. Gas firefighting system is exempted. It was recognized that it is ineffective. That is why they are exempted. Ineffective. But it also recommends suitable other system, equivalent system. So this is the annexure. It talks about this list of bulk cargoes for which fixed gas fire extinguishing system may be exempted, like this. Ore, coal and brown coal briquettes, grain, unseasoned timber. Or cargoes listed in BC code which are not combustible and constitute low fire risk. And so in that the exemption is there. Again, not important to memorize this, but important to know that there is a list like this. That is important. That you are aware there is a list of cargoes and these are exempted from a fixed gas firefighting system. TRI exempted. Wood chips with moisture content 115% or more exempted. Are you aware what is wood chips cargo? Wood chips. Anybody worked on one carrying wood chips?
नहीं सर, वो जो वुड का वो चूरा टाइप वो तो नहीं है सर?
नहीं, एक्चुअली चूरा नहीं.
हाँ.
चूरा नहीं कह सकते आप उसको. You
Yes,
see,
sir.
Amit, you can call it shavings.
Shavings.
Let me say categorically, just as an idea, you got the Tarkhan. Tarkhan, you understand Tarkhan? The carpenter. He
हाँ
works on
समझ.
the, है ना? He works on the wood. When he's working or shaving, उसके साथ कुछ गिर रहा है ना नीचे.
हाँ यस सर, वो जो नीचे
That's
गिर.
तो बुरा टाइप होता है ना लकड़ी का.
right. But what I want to tell you is just for information.
जैसे जैसे पेंसिल को शार्प करते हैं वो होता है.
ओके ठीक है, लेकिन वो बहुत छोटा है. Wood chips are larger in size. And let me tell you, wood chips are actually manufactured manufactured. It is not only a byproduct of the shaving of the carpenter, it is actually manufactured by cutting trees. What is it used for? It is manufactured wood chips. It is actually used to make pulp. Can you beat it? It is used to make pulp. Pulp, which is subsequently rolled out into maybe A4 size paper, which you are using, or maybe your newspaper. Wood chips उसका origin है. I have a small idea because I've worked on one carrying wood chips, so small idea is there. But long time back, of course, these wood chips are used to make paper. That is the raw material to make paper. So much so that in Japan, they used to import wood chips to make paper. First, they used to buy paper from paper. They used to buy maybe newsprint, maybe A4 size papers, etc. They used to buy from USA. Then they decided कि क्यों खरीदना है, खुद ही बनाते हैं इसको. So they started importing wood chips to make paper. And I was on a ship which was carrying wood chips. Again, this was exempted from any fixed firefighting system like gas. No CO2 lines. That is how I stopped here, because I remember certainly my experience, and these wood chips are used to manufacture paper. Mainly paper जिसपे हम लिख रहे हैं A4 size paper, it is coming originally from wood chips. Very sad, because you know why sad? Because the raw material is trees. They are cutting trees to make this. For money purpose, financial, lot of finances are involved. They are cutting trees. Brazil is one of the main exporters of wood chips because they got so many trees. Amazon में. They're felling them, they're cutting them to make wood chips, and then exporting wood chips to countries like Japan, who then use wood chips to make paper. Very interestingly, because it is such an advanced country with so much thought, they make the paper and sell it back to them. फिर वो बेवकूफ इनसे खरीद भी रहे हैं. Anyway, just a matter of commercial interest, that's all. These are all list of cargoes which are exempted. And as we are talking of that, I remember on this particular ship, we actually had a exemption certificate for fixed fire system. Exemption certificate. We were carrying one exemption certificate. So this is all the list. Again, you don't need to memorize the list, but you should be aware that there is a list which is talking about exemption from fixed gas firefighting system, which you can refer to and always come back to IMSBC to find out. Now, this is again important. Just see the importance of this title. It is included in the code IMSBC also, although it is something to do with safety, part of your checklist, part of your SMS, but it is included in IMSBC code also. Recommendation for entering enclosed spaces. Resolution A.864/20. I've got the latest one, don't worry, we will discuss in safety class. But just for this class, for IMSBC, this is a resolution A.864/20. We have IMO recommendations for this now already revised. First of all, this was done because recognizing, this is another thing which has taken concern. Apart from the fact we were talking of liquefaction of cargo, this is also a concern because a lot of accidents are taking place because entry into enclosed space is not being made properly. And it recommends reviews and recommendations. Still continuing. Recommendations. Safety procedures for people to enter enclosed spaces which may be oxygen depleted, oxygen deficient, or may contain flammable and or toxic atmosphere. In both the cases, it will be enclosed space. Now, this is something you will need to remember. Enclosed space definition. Enclosed space means any space which can have any of these following characteristics. 1. Limited openings for entry and exit. Limited opening for entry and exit. Unfavorable natural ventilation. Thirdly, is not designed for continuous worker occupancy. Very important point. Any one of these characteristics can render that particular space as enclosed space. Please note down enclosed space definition: a space which has any one of these following characteristics, including the third one, which is not designed for continuous worker occupancy. It goes on to say it is not limited to cargo spaces, double bottoms, fuel tanks, ballast tanks, pump rooms, compressor rooms, coffer dams, void spaces, duct keels, inter-barrier spaces, engine crankcases, and sewage tanks. It includes all of these, but is not limited to them. Not only that, the IMO recommendation goes further to say that adjacent spaces to enclosed spaces are also to be treated as enclosed space, which means a cargo hold is an enclosed space, is always treated as enclosed space, and adjoining void spaces, coffer dams to the cargo hold is also a enclosed space. The circular describes what is a competent person which has sufficient theoretical knowledge and practical experience to make an informed assessment of the likelihood of dangerous atmosphere. Responsible person is the one who authorizes a permit to entry. One thing is definite. When you are answering a question within safety paper also for entry into enclosed space, the first point which has to be covered is risk assessment. RA.
DRA.
Sorry, DRA. Okay, very good. DRA. Detailed risk assessment. Complete risk assessment actually. That will be the first point, whether in an oral question or a written question. This has to go on records. First point will be that carry out a DRA. Because not all cargoes give out toxic fumes. Not all cargoes emit gases which are harmful. Some cargoes just cause oxygen depletion zone, oxygen depletion atmosphere. That also makes it dangerous. When the cargo has a tendency to absorb oxygen, it creates an oxygen depletion atmosphere. That is also dangerous. Oxygen level ही कम है. So these are the procedures to be followed for testing. Minimum risk to health, no intermediate risk to health, and risk to health as it is, or life identified for testing the atmosphere. If there are some identified risks, then it will go on further. Precautions prescribed should be followed. Additional precautions, which goes like this. First of all, there should be an authorization of entry, which you are aware. Permit to entry for enclosed space. There should be one dedicated permit made out and signed by everyone who is entering. there is one very interesting interaction going on, even in oral examination, which goes like this, and you may also join it. I mean, we can have ideas. I don't know if I discussed this with you, but let us go over it. Suppose you are entering an enclosed space, or somebody from your ship is entering an enclosed space. So you have a permit, you have an enclosed space entry form, which you have filled up before he enters, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now after the entry has been made, this particular person who has gone into the enclosed space requires help. He has signaled for help. Now, is the enclosed space entry form going to be filled up again for the rescue party?
Sir, his name should be mentioned over there with signature and the time of entering.
Okay, वो तो हो गया ना?
नहीं
That
सर,
part
उसमें
has
एंट्री के टाइम पे सर बंदों के नाम होते हैं ना, एंट्री के नाम टाइम पे बंदों के नाम होते हैं ना सर.
हाँ जी, मैं कब कर रहा हूँ? But I think maybe I was not clear in my interaction with you. This has been done. The person has made entry. Mr. X has gone inside. The entry form has been completed. Checks have been done, and he has gone inside the enclosed space. Now, there is also a person standing by.
Person
Now,
standing by? The person who is standing by?
Standing
Okay.
by.
Okay.
Now, the person who has made entry is signaling for help.
Okay.
He is requiring help. So, this person who is now required to go and help, should he be filling up the enclosed space entry form again?
No, sir.
सोच के बोलना.
नो सर.
No, sir.
No. Okay. You say no.
I say when they were doing the detailed risk, sir, I will say the time they were doing a detailed risk assessment, they should have appointed one person in case of emergency. The person who is standing by, he will not go. The person who is standing by, he will not go. They should have appointed one person, or they should have kept one person that in case of emergency, they will do the help in that case. And their name should be mentioned at the time of the time of entering. That the time of entering should not be there, because they have two pages. The first one where they say that who will go and who will not go, and the other page is the time of entering and coming out. So the person who is entering at that time, that time his name should be mentioned, because he already briefed he has already got briefed about the what are the scenarios inside, and what are the precautions to be taken. So
Okay.
it goes like this, sir.
Then don't be judgmental. I am saying
Sir,
that
what we used to do on the ship, like the 4 persons who are working in the enclosed space, तो हम सुबह ही परमिट बनाते थे उन चारों का. उनमें से 2 स्टैंड बाय के लिए रहते थे और 2 जाते थे अंदर, पर चारों का ही बनाते थे परमिट. जैसे सुबह 8 बजे ही चीफ ऑफिसर परमिट बना के ऊपर छोड़ के जाता था और मैं साइन करवाता था मास्टर से कि, और फिर 9 बजे उनको अलाउ कर देते कि तुम चारों जने जाओ. तो वो चारों का ही परमिट बनता है, 2 हमेशा स्टैंड बाय के लिए होते हैं, पर उनका परमिट सुबह ही बन जाता है.
okay, I understand what you're saying, but there is something more to it. I am saying कि आपने permit बनाया. I am saying कि approval है, permit approved है by the master. I am saying कि you were instrumental in informing these people that you have to go inside. Permit is here. ठीक है, हो गया. So 2 people have entered the enclosed space, right? Now these 2 people have signaled for help. They are in some trouble. So people have to go to help them. They have to enter the enclosed space to help them, right?
हाँ, तो
And
सर जो बंदा स्टैंड बाई रहता है ऊपर, सर वो तुरंत ब्रिज को इन्फॉर्म करेगा या सीसीआर को इन्फॉर्म करेगा एज पर द प्लेस एंड एज पर द सिचुएशन. हाँ, वॉकी टॉकी से.
ठीक है.
देन ही कैन गेट मोर हेल्प रादर देन एंटरिंग हिमसेल्फ.
नहीं, ये बात आपकी सब ठीक है. मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि उसको एंटर तो करना है ना किसी को, टू हेल्प दीज गाइस.
जी सर, एससीबी पहन के एंटर करेगा अगर कोई प्रॉब्लम हो गई है नीचे तो.
है ना, तो एंटर करना है ना. इसके लिए मैं आपसे पूछ रहा हूँ कि जब उसको एंटर करना है, शुड ही बी फिलिंग अप द इनक्लोज स्पेस एंट्री फॉर्म अगेन? ये पूछ रहा हूँ मैं.
नहीं सर, ऐसा कोई नहीं है. वैसे हर कंपनी का अलग अलग फॉर्मेट होता है, बट जो मेरी कंपनी का फॉर्मेट है उसमें उसका नाम ऑलरेडी मेंशन्ड होता है.
यार नाम
अटेंडी एक कॉलम होता है सर, उसमें अटेंडी करके पर्सन अटेंडी, तो उसमें उसका नाम मेंशन होता है.
सर सर इन दिस होल सिनेरियो अगर हम ऐसे बात करेंगे, वैसे तो अटेंडेंस का नाम होता है, दैट मींस वी आर फिलिंग अप फॉर हिम सर, दैट मींस वी आर फिलिंग अप फॉर हिम, बिकॉज एक बंदे की जान बचाने में दूसरा बंदा नहीं जाना चाहिए सर।
तो ये तो बात कर रहा हूँ मैं।
सर
एंड एज
होगा
इट
सर,
इज,
वो होगा सर, होगा
सर
सर।
और टाइम वेस्ट काफी होगा ना उस टाइम में सर। चेकलिस्ट इमरजेंसी के टाइम में हमें टाइम इज प्रेशियस, उस टाइम चेकलिस्ट थोड़ी फिल करेंगे सर।
अच्छा मुझे एक बात बताइए कि अगर उस बंदे को जो ऑलरेडी जा चुका है उसको हेल्प चाहिए, डज इट नॉट सिग्निफाई दैट देयर इज समथिंग गोइंग रॉन्ग? तभी तो उसने हेल्प मांगी है। डज इट नॉट रिंग अ बेल दैट
सर
देयर इज समथिंग गोइंग रॉन्ग?
सर अगर कुछ नया काम स्टार्ट करेंगे तो चलो वो प्रिपेयर करेंगे, लेकिन सेम में दोबारा क्या चेकलिस्ट भरेंगे सर, जो
सर
सब कुछ
अगर
पहले से भर कर।
सर थ्योरेटिकल बात करूं तो एक बंदे की जान बचाने में दूसरा बंदा नहीं बनना चाहिए, सो करेंगे सर।
सर पूरा सीन होता है सर, कि खाली नहीं रहता कि अटेंडी रहता है, रिस्पॉन्सिबल ऑफिसर भी साइन करते हैं, पर्सन रिस्पॉन्सिबल एंड ऑल सारी कैटेगरी रहती है। जिसमें भी नाम लिखा गया है या साइन किया है उन सबका रहेगा ना रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी सर, यू विल नॉट बी अलोन।
ठीक है, या एक चीज मुझे समझ नहीं आ रही है, आप लोग यहाँ पे गए हो, नाम लिखने से या नाम मेंशन करने से डज इट अब्सॉल्व द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ रिस्क जस्ट बिकॉज द नेम इज रिटन?
नहीं सर, रिस्क तो है ही है सर, रिस्क तो रहेगा ही, बट
नहीं तो बात कर रहा हूँ मैं आपसे कि अब अगर इस बंदे को जो जा चुका है अंदर उसको हेल्प चाहिए, इट मीन्स देयर इज समथिंग गोइंग रॉन्ग एंड देन द पर्सन हु इज गोइंग टू हेल्प, उसका जो आपकी तरफ से जैसे आप बोल रहे हो नाम लिखा हुआ है, तो जिसका नाम लिखा हुआ है शुड ही एंटर विदाउट विदाउट कैरिंग आउट अ रिस्क असेसमेंट अगेन और विदाउट कैरिंग आउट अ परमिट अगेन?
सर रिस्क असेसमेंट एंड वो सब तो हो चुका है ना सर, बिफोर एंटरिंग द स्पेस प्रॉपर वेंटिलेशन हैज बीन कैरिड आउट।
करेक्ट, बिल्कुल, बट नाउ ही रिक्वायर्स हेल्प जो गया है, डज इट नॉट इंडिकेट देयर इज समथिंग रॉन्ग? Although everything was done, does it not indicate
बिल्कुल
that there is
बिल्कुल,
something going wrong?
वो बाकी लोगों को भी इन्फॉर्म करेगा रेडियो पे, और अगर ऐसा इमरजेंसी है तो ब्रिज से तो कंटिन्यू एवरी 5 मिनट और 10 मिनट का कांटेक्ट होता ही रहता है, क्लोज लूप कम्युनिकेशन रहता ही है, तो वो इन्फॉर्म करेगा तो पीए में अनाउंस करेंगे।
चलो ठीक है, think about it. It is a question which can surface. It has surfaced actually, and let me assure you कहाँ पे surface हुआ मालूम है? ASM morals में ये क्वेश्चन सरफेस हुआ है कि साहब,
लेकिन अगर उसका नाम सर आप सही कर रहे हैं, अगर उसका नाम मेंशन नहीं होगा ना एंटरिंग वाले लोगों में, तो बाद में फिर इंश्योरेंस और क्लेम में जब सारा कुछ होता है तो यही पेपर वर्क काम आता है।
सर वही तो कह रहा, सर वही तो कहा था कि मैं डिटेल्ड रिस्क असेसमेंट के टाइम पे ये मेक श्योर करूंगा कि मैं बंदों का नाम लिख रहा हूँ सो दैट दे गेट ब्रीफ्ड अबाउट व्हाट इज द इनक्लोज स्पेस। ठीक है, मैं उनको बता रहा हूँ। अगर उस टाइम पे किसी बंदे की अगर हो गई तो जो अटेंडेंट है वो तो उधर ही रहेगा, उसके साथ जो बंदे दो मैंने एक्स्ट्रा पॉइंट रखे हुए हैं जिनके नाम लिख के जिनको मैंने ब्रीफ किया हुआ है, दे विल गो इनसाइड एट दैट टाइम। ठीक है, अब इन केस अगर कोई नहीं है, अगर सर अभी एक बंदा ऑलरेडी है, किसी का नाम अपॉइंटेड नहीं है, तो सर डेफिनेटली मुझे एटमॉस्फेयर तो चेक करना ही पड़ेगा उसके टाइम पे भी, क्योंकि दूसरा बंदा नहीं जाना चाहिए। बट सर फिर वो अलग ही सिचुएशन है, अब इसमें आंसर क्या करें। हाँ बट ये बोल सकते हैं सर डिप्लोमेटिक, जैसे आपने कहा कि जजमेंटल मत हो, ये भी सर जजमेंटल क्वेश्चन ही है। तो
सर
सर इसमें
कंपनी
थोड़ा
ने
बहुत तो
सर
डिप्लोमेटिक आंसर
13-14
देना ही
सेक्शन बना
पड़ेगा कि
रखे
सर
हैं।
इनिशियल स्टेज पे व्हेन आई विल डू अ डिटेल्ड रिस्क असेसमेंट, आई विल पुट द नेम ऑफ द पीपल दोज आर एंटरिंग प्लस 2 persons standby in for the standby team in case of emergency, those who will go inside to save the person, those who will wear the life this SCBA। मैं उन दोनों का नाम उस परमिट में पहले लिख के रखूंगा, उनका टाइम ऑफ एंटरिंग नहीं डालूंगा, क्योंकि 2 पेज होते हैं, जो सी कॉलम है उसमें टाइम ऑफ एंटरिंग एंड एग्जिटिंग होता है, तो टाइम ऑफ एंटरिंग में उनका नाम नहीं होगा। द टाइम दे विल एंटर आई विल पुट देयर नेम एंड टाइम ऑफ एंटरिंग आई विल पुट देयर नेम। और फिर उनके साथ कम्युनिकेशन रहेगा, वो भी उसमें लिखा हुआ है कि 5 मिनट का कम्युनिकेशन है और 5-10 मिनट में एटमॉस्फेयर चेक हो रहा है। वो जो अटेंडेंट बाहर खड़ा है वो करेगा, लेकिन मैं 2 बंदों का इनिशियली नाम लिख के रखूंगा, ये मेरा डिटेल्ड रिस्क असेसमेंट में जाएगा।
ओके,
सर ये क्वेश्चन है सर जजमेंट सर डिप्लोमेटिक आंसर होगा सर इसका भी। अब
नहीं कोई बात नहीं, आई एग्री विथ यू, वी आर ओनली डिस्कसिंग, इट इज अ सेंसिटिव इशू because this keeps figuring now, especially in wake of accidents which are happening even till very recently. Because of entry into enclosed space, some accidents are taking place. So it has also become a very important question, important for discussion, along with what we were talking about Cargo likely to liquefy, causing accidents. This is also included in my IMSBC. Having recognized this is also a very serious issue.
सर आंसर क्या है सर उसका आपकी तरफ से?
Well, I will agree with you what you're saying, that although one thing is certain, that person who has gone inside is signaling for help, therefore it clearly indicates something is going wrong. But if these persons who are standing by to assist have also been involved in carrying out an RA, then maybe they can go without filling up the form again, provided they were involved in RA, provided they were involved in the form. To save time, that's all, to save time. Although if you ask me, थोड़ा सा gap है इसमें, मैं खुद भी convinced नहीं हूँ इसमें. Why? Let us say, for example, the person who has gone inside or the persons who have gone inside are signaling help because their SCBA is not working, or maybe atmosphere is too much with toxic fumes. Then the person who is going inside is going to expose himself.
Obviously, sir. Yes.
Chalo. We can talk about it again when we come in the safety class for this particular topic. We'll talk again because this is also a very sensitive question which is keep on surfacing. So when we say, as far as the code is concerned, what we did our topic today, potential hazard should be identified in assessment, which is RA, and should be kept reasonably safe. Potential hazard identified and so far as possible isolated and made safe. Space should be thoroughly ventilated, of course, by natural or mechanical means to avoid any collection of toxic or flammable gases, adequate level of oxygen. These are some things which you are aware, but we have to go through it because it is also included in the code itself. Properly calibrated instrument should be used for testing atmosphere. Properly calibrated instrument. This should be part of RA. That is your instrument calibrated. When was the last calibration done? How was it done? Was it a shore-based calibration or on board? Space of entry or enclosed should be secured for entry and properly illuminated. Very important. Properly illuminated. Suitable system of communication, of course, between all parties. Attendant to remain at the entrance of space while this job is carried out in the enclosed space. Rescue and resuscitation equipment positioned ready for use. Rescue arrangements agreed and ready for deployment, which includes, I think you have a drill also, a mandatory drill every 6 months. What is the duration of the drill?
Sir, which drill, sir?
2 months.
Enclosed space.
Every
Enclosed
2
space.
months, sir. Every 2 months.
Every 2 months. Every 2 months. Mandatory drill.
Yes,
कर रहे
sir.
हैं आप?
करनी पड़ती है करके सर.
सर सारी ड्रिल करते हैं सर हम A to Z जितनी लिखी है सर उतनी.
बिल्कुल चिंता मत कर, मैं डाउट नहीं कर रहा, मैं सिर्फ पूछ रहा हूँ.
तो सर
जो
हम
आप
भी बता ही रहे हैं सिर्फ सर आपको. हम
जो आप
करते हैं पूरी
जो आप
31
कह रहे हो, I will take it. I will agree कि आप
हाँ सर हम डीब्रीफिंग में भी यही कहते हैं सर, हम सारी ड्रिल कर रहे हैं.
क्या कहते हैं डीब्रीफिंग में?
सर वो भी पूछते हैं ना आप ड्रिल कर रहे हो, हम सर यही होता है सर हमारा आंसर, सारी ड्रिल करते हैं सर हम.
बढ़िया चीफ ऑफिसर बनेगा.
थैंक यू सर.
Whether or not you do it, answer should be correct. This is off the record, mind you.
हाँ सर कुछ रिकॉर्ड पे नहीं है सर.
This is off the record, but should be carefully documented. Everything you do. Then, of course, people wearing protected clothing, PPE permit has been issued. ये तो बहुत important है. Permit has been issued. But training is very important. Only trained people should enter the enclosed space. For which reason, you can understand why this has taken such a proportion that even a mandatory drill is emphasized. That is meant for training only, the drill. atmosphere testing, properly calibrated instruments, and for trained people for use of that. Testing should be done frequently, even when the person is entered or is about to enter, and should have a representative sample of the atmosphere in the space by maybe acidification tube where it sucks the air. We have used it, right? And of course 21% of oxygen by volume, O2 meter, and LEL for lower flammable limit for potential flammable gases. Additional ventilation may be required for the space, which you should make sure is being done. These are all part of your checklist also. You're well familiar with them. अगर question आ भी जाएगा, you will simply recall your checklist and write it down. ये एक बहुत जरूरी चीज है. We do test before entry, but the recommendation is that the atmosphere should be tested frequently while the space is being occupied, and the persons instructed to leave the space should there be a different deterioration in the condition, or if the calibration instrument or the measuring instrument is giving an alarm. This should be part of training, but the atmosphere should be continuously tested even while the space has been occupied, entered. Ventilation again continuous, even in temporary breaks. चाय के लिए भी ventilation continue रहनी चाहिए. If there is a re-entry after a break, atmosphere should be retested. हाँ जी बोलिए, somebody saying something? Now this again, if you will read, we were talking about it also. In event of emergency, under no circumstances should the attending crew member attend or enter the space before further help has arrived, and to ensure safety of people who have entered to undertake rescue operation. Keep yourself safe before you actually start helping. If the atmosphere is unsafe, if it is recognized unsafe, then space should be only entered when no other alternative exists. There should be a system where number of persons entering the space should be minimum, compatible with the work to be performed. Minimum people to enter. SCBA, airline, self-contained type should always be worn. Very importantly, rescue harnesses should be available and used also. PPE, of course, goes without saying. Then, of course, there are some recognized hazards for dangerous goods in package forms. IMDG code से आएगा ये. Emergency procedures for ships carrying dangerous goods, which will be reflected in MSDS also, and bulk liquid, which is tankers. But this doesn't come under IMSBC because we are talking about solid bulk cargo. Some cargoes are recognized as oxygen depleting cargoes. They do not give out any toxic gases, but they are recognized as oxygen depleting cargoes. Tendency to absorb oxygen from atmosphere leading to depletion of oxygen in the cargo space. And these are the examples. Copra. very interestingly. Wood. Wood has oxygen absorption, especially if it is dried wood, it will absorb. Jute, hemp, fish meal, fish scrap, all these are absorbing oxygen. Can lead to oxygen depletion atmosphere inside the cargo space. And this we have already covered, DRI. Fumigation we have completed because fumigation is also included in the IMSBC under a recommendation. Right? Alright. This is an example of enclosed space entry form which you might require not in cargo work but you might require in safety paper to design a enclosed space entry form. Just have a look at it. It is possible that you get a question like this in safety paper. To design a entry enclosed space form.
सर एक रिक्वेस्ट थी.
Yes, please go ahead.
सर ये जो आज पढ़ा है प्लीज ये अपलोड कर दीजिए, पढ़ लेंगे हम भी.
You see, even the person entering is taking a vouching that he will vacate the space immediately if ventilation fails or atmosphere tests show a change from agreed safety criteria. So all this is very important and will figure in your pre-entry checks and RA. And then of course the date, signature, etc., which is part of the form. Supervisor who is doing the job. Most importantly, it should be a valid permit for such and such time. It cannot be an everlasting thing. Permit should be valid for a particular period of time. Also, you are putting a sticker over there or maybe putting a notice, people working inside or something, which should be removed after the job has been done. And a poster which can be used, should be used, maybe on a display, and then train your crew for this. Mind you, people are becoming aware. I've heard even trainees and ratings are asking for a permit before they are told to enter. They are now quite aware. Awareness has increased. They just don't go blindly. They want to see a permit. They want to see a approved permit rather. This we have done. Pesticide use, fumigation of cargoes. Yeah, we did this. So this will take care. Now something as a recommendation. The PPT I can place it. Okay. The topic is not completed as yet, but since somebody says he wants to read it, I will place something inside the link. You can refer to it. With clear understanding that we still got something to do with the topic. Okay. 3 files. Cancel upload now. Continue upload. Okay. 3 files are there uploaded for the purpose of link. I got IMSBC code PPT, IMSBC code pocket guide, and IMSBC PDF. It is all there in your link. Can you confirm? You can see. Or somebody was saying he wants to read, maybe somewhere after the class, whatever. You can see, you can cite it. IMSBC 3 files. With a clear understanding, I'm repeating again, topic is still to be completed. I think I got a session tomorrow also. At that time, we will try and complete the session. I'll try and complete it. We got BLU code to look at, which is a supplement to the IMSBC. Okay. But otherwise, it's done. And also, I've put 3 files inside the link. On topic is IMSBC. This
ठीक है सर,
code-
ओके करें सर फिर अब।
sorry. Say again.
मैंने कहा सर ठीक है, वो आ गया सर फाइल।
Very good. Just try and download and see. You can start revising also. You got some time to go before we end the session. Maybe you can utilize the time to revise the thing.
सर कर दो, 5 मिनट ही तो है सर।
वो ठीक है, कर रहा हूँ मैं, 2 मिनट रुक जाओ. In the meanwhile, just go and open those files to see that you are happy. So for today's afternoon session, do you have anything to raise? Any question, query? You have not responded, so I presume there is nothing immediate. You can come back to it anytime. In the next class, you may go through the link and then see if you got something to raise. And as I said, importantly, something to do with past question papers. So in case you do not have anything immediate, you may respond to the chat box. That will take care. As far as I'm concerned, for this session, we are done. We see you again tomorrow as per timetable.